Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of OperaVision's Next Generation series. I'm Nina Brazier, a stage director based in Frankfurt, and over the coming months I'm taking you to 4 young artist programmes across Europe, exploring how the opera world is developing and nurturing the next generation of talent. We began in Rome with Opera for Peace's inaugural Opera Academy and went on to the Accademia Rossiniana at the Rossini Opera Festival. But today I welcome you to my operatic home, Oper Frankfurt, and our opera studio. With backstage access to masterclasses, concerts, rehearsal rooms and dressing rooms, we'll find out how the singers negotiate the physical and emotional highs and lows as they explore their unique operatic voice. Today we're hearing from 4 young artists at Oper Frankfurt. The opera studio supports and nurtures the singers with world-class tuition, coachings, live performances, and an enviable number of roles in mainstage productions. The ambition is for the studio to prepare each singer for a successful international career, with some singers joining the ensemble or returning as guest performers. What I'm curious to find out from the Oper Frankfurt young artists is how the new singers are coping with their intensive first season, how they manage differing expectations from different people, and what surprised them about the programme along the way. Here's a brief word from each of them.
It's really challenging. I mean, they want to give you here a good opportunity and you have to decide what's good for you and what's not so good for you. But, now you're totally alone and you are your own master. And sometimes you want the person who says, that's good for you and not, because you want to get better and improve. And sometimes really popular persons, popular singers, you get these inputs and it kind of feels good. But then in the end, you are the person who has to decide. And that's also a big responsibility.
There's a whole other list of people waiting to go on stage. So I needed to learn to take it back a little bit and consume as much information as I could in the masterclasses with the different amazing teachers that we have. So then my focus immediately shift to Nombulelo, you need to get your technique on point.
I think the edge comes from adrenaline in an audition setting, because for me, at least with concerts or with opera, the edge for me sort of goes away because we have the process, right? And that's a wonderful thing, but it comes back in an audition if you treat it the same way. But I want to treat it as just any other day because I need to feel really in control, especially at my most nervous point, which is an audition.
Today I'm doing Babagena, and Saturday Taumentchen, Sunday Pamina that I'm doing. So this kind of a lot of roles that I can experience and a lot of different character that I can play and also feel the audience and be in different productions are really fascinating to me.
Thomas Stollberger runs the opera studio. I asked him first about the application process. You presumably must have hundreds of these applications. What do you think makes the singers really stand out or makes a single singer stand out in those situations?
In the very beginning of the application process, I think you are right, it's 600 to 800 singers every year. And in the beginning, it's kind of first impression of the CV, and then you see, he has already or she has already some experience, might be more interesting than someone who is still only on a bachelor level, for example, if you have already a master. So you have a first idea where they are in their career, and then I directly go over to the recordings. And in this early stage of the applications, I really don't really look on how outstanding someone is, because I have to hear everybody.
So how did our young singers get on?
I'm soprano and I'm from Seoul, South Korea, and my name is Hyyoung Kim.
I asked Hyyoung about her audition for Bernd Loebe.
My first aria was Bell Song from Lakme, and second one was Arifeuse from Salveflöte, and Loebe saw that from there, and he casted me as a Pamina here.
And being thrown in the deep end with something like Die Zauberflöte, was that intimidating or did you feel ready?
My dream was always want to be a singer. And the first day of the rehearsal, I did Arifeuse and I saw the Probebühne and it was like rotating and it was huge and like I could sing with like professional singers. It was just like a dream. Before audition, I was like a little overwhelmed, but they were welcoming so much and they try to they don't see me as a young singer. They just treated me as a professional. So I forgot about the overwhelming and intimidating all of that.
I asked Thomas about young singers taking on such major roles. How careful do you have to be to make sure that perhaps they're not taking a role on too early?
This is really a balance between what the singers might want to. Yeah, so I think it's on the base of experience and knowledge of the people who decide in the Opera of Frankfurt about the casts. First of all, certainly Bernd Loebe, but because he discovered so many young singers who started their career here in the Opera House. This is the feedback I get, that the agents and the teaching singers, they say, go to Frankfurt. We have really a good, what I hear, that we have a good reputation for dealing professional with young voices.
Thinking about that, how demanding we can be of our brilliant young singers, have you ever had to take someone out of a production when something's just not working for them?
Yes, there has been one or two times that that it happened. For example, we had a cast and it was too short time to prepare the singer of the opera studio. Not too hard. The role was not too hard or too big, but the time to learn it was too short. And what we did was we invited a guest who did the role for the first performance and then still prepared on the singer of the opera studio. And then she did the second and third and fourth performance and had a great success with it. We had to wait, but we offered the help and then she did it.
Here's another of our new young artists.
My name is Jarrett Porter and I'm a baritone. I am from New York City, United States.
I asked Jarrett about how he prepares for an audition situation.
I think I've cycled through a few options with various levels of success, i.e., having a sort of workout routine in the morning, or if it's an early audition, getting up X number of hours before, or having a checklist of things in terms of like looking at my text, looking at my music. But I think what best serves me and what I do remember that day I did was just to think of it as any other day and think of it more as a performance in terms of like concert than proving yourself.
How fully do you stage arias in an audition setting on a stage, which sort of does, I guess, in a way, invite it? And for me as a director, I would be delighted if someone staged something, but I know it can go too far for some people. What's your balance with that?
Well, I try to imagine sort of generally like I'll use feet because I come from America, but like an 8 by 8 foot box in front of the piano. But also, like for Frankfurt, I knew that it was a really directorial driven house, that there was exciting things happening on stage and not sort of just standing and singing. So I just took the risk and made simple acting choices. So I was quite free in terms of my physicality because I knew Oper Frankfurt, had encouraged that dramatically on stage.
I've been working with Helene over the last couple of months, assisting the director Johannes Erath on Die Meistersinger, in which Helene plays one of the Lehrbuben, that is, one of the apprentices, here at Oper Frankfurt.
Hi, my name is Helen Feldbauer. I'm a mezzo-soprano and I'm from Austria and studied in Vienna the last few years.
When you got that offer to come into the opera studio, what were your early expectations? What did you want to get out of the program?
For me, an opera studio is always a good opportunity to get the fine technique inputs, or to work on the last few things you need really going on stage, be heard from other people, and maybe also getting a chance to be a member of the ensemble or get heard by other people or agencies, and then you can go your path.
I asked Jarrett the same question.
I knew that maybe unlike other programs, especially in Germany, in other houses, that the studio program in Frankfurt was really heavily, oftentimes cast in real roles in productions on stage. And regardless of what that was, obviously I didn't learn about those exact roles until, the spring of this last year. I was hoping and had faith in the fact that maybe I would have some real stage experience out of this studio opportunity. And even if it wasn't a large role, a role that was, one that I could really learn from, I knew that I needed guidance a little bit more vocally, that maybe my technique needed a little bit of attention in one part of my voice. So I felt safe to come here and explore and maybe move into a different Fach,
And which sort of Fach, which direction were you heading in, or what was changing for you?
Well, I definitely started out more as a bass baritone, and I've grown more into a lyric baritone. I don't want to say not dramatic in any way, but more towards the full bel canto, full lyric, and less, sort of young baritone thing, which I had found security in for quite a long time, and that I felt like was only serving me so much. I'm 29 years old, so the time to sort of explore, a more full thrust vocalism and that sort of repertoire is now.
And what about Hyyoung?
I did some productions into school, but I haven't had any professional opportunity to be on a stage, not a lot. So I wanted an opportunity to be on a stage, and I'm having a lot of them right now, and it's really, really helpful, and also technically and acting wise, it was really one of my best year in my life, I think.
All of our 4 young artists are from elsewhere, including, of course, Jarrett Porter. Back in the States, you mentioned just there you studied at Juilliard, and I'm wondering, how did you find that shift from the American to the German culture? Did that shift come easily to you?
Yeah, no, and it's still happening. It's not that I found it difficult, it's just so different. Like, I've never imagined putting an opera together. You know, my first production here was Capriccio, which was a Wiederaufnahme, 10-day staging, I think, and that was very new to me. You know, especially at Juilliard, we would have 4 weeks of staging. And that really was the standard for me in terms of what my expectation was with rehearsal and with the process. So the whole 10-day, you know, in 10 days we will have one Generalprobe and then a performance was just sort of wild to me and exciting. Like, I loved it. And the other thing I think that I'm getting used to is I need to be careful how I say this, because it's not that people come unprepared to like, you know, a coaching for something, but really the faith and trust that you have in a coach that prepares you for a role, I think is more so here than maybe in the States, where I think the expectation, or at least for myself, is to come completely prepared, almost memorized. And here, you know, in my experience, that's been a little bit discouraged. So maybe we don't learn in a wrong way, or we don't learn the wrong thing in our process, and that we can really have someone there who knows also, you know, from another side what needs to be done and is helpful in that way.
Just a couple of translations here for anyone who might need it. Generalprobe is what we would call a dress rehearsal, and Wiederaufnahme is what we know as a revival. Earlier from Hyyoung, we heard the word Probebühne. That's what we know as the stage setup in the rehearsal room. Nombulelo, whom we heard from in episode 1, already has a full schedule. Now, you're getting into your second year here in the studio. On your plate right now, you've got Die Zauberin, you've got Hänsel and Gretel, you've got Tatiana coming up in Onegin, a huge role. I'm wondering, how does it feel to be in the middle of it all?
It's exciting. It's crazy. It's hard work having to juggle all 3 roles at the same time. And I think this is something that I underestimated, actually. So yeah, it's been crazy, but in a good way.
How do you find that balance of working on each piece at a different time? Do you have to be very strict and careful with how you use your time, how you allocate your time? How does that work?
I noticed in the beginning, I was just going by, oh, I like Tatiana better, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to focus on that. And in that process, I was neglecting some of the other roles. And then quickly I realized that, no, I need to be strict and be, disciplined.
And vocally, is it difficult to switch between the different languages of the pieces, getting your mouth around the different text?
It's funny that you asked me that. It's been quite hectic because I've been focused so much on getting the Russian right that now everything I sing, in a way, even if it's German or Italian, I Russianize it. For instance, the L's, you know, the hard L, the soft L, I mix everything. I'm mixing the languages, which is not good. It's something that I noticed, and I was like, no, I need to fix it. I said, Bully, you need to fix this. This is what's happening, and I fixed it.
The young artists are taking in a lot of new information, including in the masterclasses. I asked Jarrett how he processes it all. Now, I know here at the studio you have input from a lot of brilliant experts, and I'm wondering, how difficult is it to perhaps hear different opinions and ideas from different corners?
You need to sort of experience things or give things a chance and figure out what works for you and develop a filter for yourself. You know, even in the 2 months that I've been in the program, I've had frustrating days, of course, of opposite information, maybe in the same 4-hour period of different rehearsals. But, you know, you just have to sort of develop that sort of, yeah, like I said, filter for yourself. And that's when you really identify for yourself what works, what doesn't. And you have to be able to have that conversation with yourself and with other people. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge, but a necessary one.
And Hyyoung?
When I was in school, I have a lot of coaches, and I was like doing 100% what they say all the time, like changing technique. And here they treat me as a professional, not a student. So they don't like press me to change the whole technique. So I have my own idea and they are giving more of tips, like adjusting. They're just like helping, little bit of like giving the spices on a food, something like that. I am trying to accept those, but try not to change my own technique. Just try to little like improve.
And how is the shift from student to young artist working out for her?
Yes, they don't like push me. You have to do like this. You cannot do. They don't do. They just expect me to good on the stage. That's what they want. So I become more responsibility. I have more take charge of my career. Yeah, it was like challenging, of course, because now there is no safety net. But I feel more be active.
I asked Jarrett what happens if you're given advice that just doesn't work for you.
I think you just have to be able to figure out how best to say it. I think my method is always to be like, okay, I'll try it, and have a smile, and then maybe debate it after I've tried it. But it becomes obvious if it doesn't work. But yeah, I think when sort of trying to grow and trying to try something maybe so completely opposite than anything you've ever done before, it's the best to always just try it and embrace the fact that in that hour it's supposed to be work and you're not supposed to be perfect. That's not the point.
Nombulelo admitted that she's had to become more assertive.
At first, it wasn't easy. At first, I wanted to please everyone. So at first, I was doing everything everybody was telling me to do. And there was a time I had a masterclass. It was a week-long masterclass. The following week, I couldn't sing. My voice was gone, because I was trying so hard to do what they wanted me to do. I think after that incident, that's when I decided that, bully. Sometimes I call myself bully. You need to learn to filter out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then I learned to be very confident and say, if something doesn't work during the working process, while they're there, I tell them, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. It's not easy. It's very difficult because one, you don't want to seem like you and know it all. Two, you don't want to be offensive to the next person, to the expert. But also in the same idea, I don't want to have to shrink myself and shrink what I think I bring to the table just so I can please you and your expertise when it doesn't feel comfortable to me.
As head of the studio program, Thomas Stollberger often finds himself caught in the middle.
I think because I'm really in contact with everybody. From the top, Mr. Loebe, who's giving me ideas, whom we should invite, if it might be a good idea to have this teacher or that teacher. And then I'm getting in contact, for example, with a teacher, what is his or her ideas. And then I'm in contact with the singers and the pianists. And the singers filter really some of them. Yeah, not everybody is capable to give the information what is useful for him or not, but most of them are. And then you feel, okay, this is interesting for everybody. And sometimes it's not helpful. And it's also the feeling, if you have a first day and on the second day of a masterclass, everybody cancels. you know there is something, and then you talk to them, and then in a first or a second chat, you filter out, okay, something happened, and this might not work for us. And I'm totally open for the feedbacks of the singers. For example, if you have a masterclass and it might be a little bit too much for them, and they cancel, it's not like, oh my God, why do you cancel now this wonderful, great artist? No, it's fine. Yeah, it's okay. They need to find their way, and then it's fine for me too. Because the pianists tell me also, because they are doing the masterclass, they are accompanying the singers, they give me the information. Oh, this is a great teacher. This helps so much. Or,
Helene Feldbauer has learnt how to gauge the advice she's given. What would you say through these experts, through your rehearsals, what is the most important thing you think you've learnt so far in your experience this season?
Trust yourself and always take a step back and think about what do you need at a moment, what's important for you. Because when you're always serving others and always to be pleasant or that other people think, oh, you are good because you do this and this. No, you're burning out then in the end when you always try to please other people. So stay by yourself, be yourself. And if they don't like you, so they don't like you. You can't please everybody.
Nombulelo also trusts her inner voice. But when did it first come into her life?
Oh, I think it was my last year of high school. This was when I started speaking to myself. When I speak to Wuli, most of the time I'm quite strict because I tend to be quite relaxed and lazy. So when I speak to her and that voice comes out, it's more of a motherly role. Sometimes it's a very good voice. Sometimes it's like, no, you did well. And then sometimes, of course, it's the critic in us, in everything that we do. My voice doesn't sound right. Why am I even singing this? I'm not supposed to be doing this. So it's a mixture. It's a mixture of all the emotions that one feels. It definitely gets in the way. I think most of the time, like 80% of the time, it's that voice. It's that voice that always critiques everything. But the other 20% is me trying to see the positive in whatever negative I'm putting in my head. Is me trying to say, no, but yeah, it might sound bad, but like, this was good. So that I don't in turn end up feeling so defeated and low and not feeling confident in myself.
We chatted about Jarrett's upcoming season here in Frankfurt. I asked him, of that selection of things, is there anything about it that you find intimidating, or does it all feel doable and approachable, or is there something that you think, yikes, that's going to be the tough one?
I have to say I was quite nervous to be on the stage at Oper Frankfurt in the beginning, like with the Capriccio process. I've just not had that experience before in a good-sized theater with a full ensemble in the pit, and just acoustic-wise, I just don't have that experience. So it was a real process of trust, some trial and error, and then, sort of going back to, okay, no, I know what I'm doing. And everyone has gone through this process in their beginning before, and just to sort of embrace it and go from there.
Back to Nombulelo. Looking back to when you very first arrived here, is there anything that you wish you'd known then that you know now that would perhaps help you cope better with the experience here?
I think had I known or had I applied myself in learning certain languages, it would have been way easier for me. I think had I known that I was coming to Germany, I would have definitely took more German classes. I would have prepared myself more.
Yeah.
It's still an uphill battle. That's why I think had I had the foundation myself, it would be easier for me to integrate into the whole process here in Frankfurt.
I asked Hyyoung, if you could have a dream opera studio program, money would be no object, what would you suggest as an addition to a program for young artists at a house like Oper Frankfurt?
Wow. Wi-Fi.
And Nombulelo?
We had add a production strictly for the opera studio every year. A full-scale production, just the opera studio. I would add that.
I put my final question to Jarrett. In the opera world more as a whole, what do you think we can do to make it a better place?
I think for our purposes in our world, I always come back to this theme of inclusivity, which, is something that I think we all think about in terms of repertoire and our approaches to pieces that are 300 years old, how maybe we can turn them into an opportunity to involve anyone and everyone as possible.
And I'm pretty sure the whole opera world would agree. Thank you to all our guests from Oper Frankfurt for joining us on OperaVision, and thanks to you for listening. There's plenty more online at operavision.eu, where soon you'll be able to see these 4 young artists in our soirée, Must the Winter Come So Soon. You can also catch up with the Accademia Rossignana's performance of Il Viaggio a Reims. There are also the Opera for Peace masterclasses from Larry Brownlee and Thomas Hampson, Nombulelo Yende's award-winning performance at the Manushko Vocal Competition, and an evening of operetta and zarzuela from the young artists at the Palau de les Arts. I'll link to all of those in the show notes and give information on all the other music extracts you heard. We'll be back in the new year at the Palau de les Arts on Monday, the 3rd of January. This series is edited and produced by Karen Pirri and curated and hosted by me, Nina Brazier. OperaVision is co-funded by the European Commission.